If you do not challenge directly on the issues that you're seeing, the issues that are making you consider letting that person go, shame on you as a leader, because you have not given that person a chance to improve whatever the heck it is you're thinking about terminating their livelihood for. Your A players get to watch other team members not be compliant, not perform their job well, not live with the culture and core values that you have set, that you have said are the most important thing for the business. Every day you let that person stick around is a chance for that cancer to spread.
Welcome to the Gym Member Machine Podcast.
Alrighty, David. Today, we're going to talk about something that is very fresh on the mind, something that we've certainly had to deal with, in some cases more frequently than others, and in other cases on a coaching call that came up with some of our clients, the group coaching that we do every week, where we talk about the leadership issues and things like that. And so today we're going to talk about leadership and how culture issues and team issues in your business can spread like a cancer and effectively end up killing the business. I want to say this, right? Like, this isn't meant to diminish cancer, right? Obviously, that's a super serious thing. I've lost people in my family from cancer. Like, I'm not trying to diminish it, but I think the analogy is just so clearly correct. Where, when's the best time if you're unfortunate enough to have to deal with cancer yourself? Like, what's the best possible outcome for you, right? Early detection and early treatment, and cut that shit out of the organism as fast as humanly possible. It's the same thing with leadership. And I don't feel like there's not like a great textbook for this. No one, gives you the full warnings on what you're going to have to deal with as a leader as you scale up your team. And so I thought today we'd talk about some of our experiences and talk about how, gym owners might be worth them considering some of these issues with some of the, hopefully, insights that we'll give them today.
Yes, I'm pumped. In our pre-call preparation, you have a bit of a framework for this. And I love the way you think about it with almost like different levels or checkboxes, different ways of thinking about it. So where do you start with your framework?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a million ways this conversation can go, and we'll probably talk about a chunk of them today. But the context here is, you have a team, dear gym owner, right? Dear listener, and this could be one person. It could be multiple, right? I think it becomes more impactful as you have multiple team members and you're not able to be, 100% alongside every team member. Oftentimes you hire that first trainer and you're like next to them. They're your literal right hand. Like, you basically pluck and wipe each other's asses, right? Every single day when you're in the gym. You're not able to necessarily do that with your ensuing hires. Yeah, HR violations. And so the first thing that we would look at is, when shit goes wrong, right? Inevitably, your team members aren't going to be perfect. And so things are going to go wrong. Typically in one of three places is sort of the way that we so magically, this is not a framework that I had before. It's like we were literally breaking it down on our extensive, very long pre-call preparation, CPC. Okay. So I think there's probably three levels of this. You can make the argument there's a ton more. Maybe there's less, but I think there's compliance. So things that you can look at, variables that you can look at when evaluating your team. The first thing is just basic compliance. So the gym owner that we talked to today was having issues with this new trainer coming on and not wearing the uniform, right? Not wearing the appropriate shirt. Okay, so compliance is basic rule following type stuff. Okay, these are things that you should basically be able to follow, hopefully mindlessly. That's level one. Level two would be performance. So that's, how good are you at the main point of your job, right? If you have a lot of us have folks that are doing multiple roles, like, how good are you at each of those things? How well are you performing at each of those things, right? Just general job performance, right? This is also something that you would want to address. And then the third one is culture. So that's sort of my catch-all bucket for everything else. It's the how you perform the job. It's the attitude, the communication, the collaboration with other team members. I still remember this, and I think I might have given this story in our first episode when I talk about the guy that I should have fired like freaking immediately. But I remember with my first trainer, we'd have a conversation. He said he wanted to be the right hand and everything else, and I'd have a conversation about him doing something else. And the way I described it, because I talked to wifey about it after, it was like, it's like I'm getting angry girlfriend eyes anytime I ask this person to do something. Yeah, exactly that. Those of you that are on video, like Dave just nailed the perfect angry girlfriend eyes, right? Is that someone, if someone's giving you angry girlfriend eyes, right? This is someone that says, oh yeah, I want to be the right hand. I want to open more locations with you, whatever. And then they're giving you angry girlfriend eyes whenever you ask them to do something very reasonable. It's like, that should be a sign, right? That should be something that you consider when you're making these decisions. And so you've got your sort of your buckets of evaluations or buckets of behaviors, if you will, that a team member is going to have happen as a member of your business, right? This is not necessarily just applicable to gyms. Like, we deal with this shit. So you got compliance, you've got basically performance, and then you've got the culture side of things.
I think for each, we'd love to hear what an example looks like, say for the gym owner to think about with the employees they might be evaluating. And then
Yeah.
I think we could get into what good looks like, what bad looks like.
Yeah.
And then if someone's not checking the box, what would be the consequences or action steps?
Yeah. So compliance is an easy one. Like that's rule following. I already gave you that example. Like you told the trainer that they were expected to wear the job uniform, which in this case was a gym shirt every day. They show up not wearing the gym shirt, right? There we go. I'm failing the uniform today. Luckily, that's not an expectation of us when we are filming podcasts. But you're going to have different things, different, like, just basic rules that you expect your employees to follow. If you're a gym that people wear, you can wear polo shirts or you can wear this. Great. If your teammates are doing that, then they're good. They pass the compliance check on whatever those very basic things are. Your performance is where you're going to have a lot more clarity depending on what the job, or a lot more clarity that is dependent on what the actual job is. So if it's a trainer, right, you're going to judge the performance on how well they do at delivering fantastic sessions for your clients. Now, to be clear, an important point of this, because we're going to talk about, firing, and I think the what feels like the most common stance for business owners to take, gym owners to take, certainly for me to take, is we sort of have this instinct of being slow on firing. We feel bad. We want to make it work with the other individual, what have you. We think about all the discomfort that comes along with letting someone go. It's like, well, can you just quit, right? And so we're going to talk about all those things. But to be fair to the teammates, to the team members that you have hired, the employees, et cetera, that you've hired, we need to create clarity around what those things are. So what running a great session looks like at Mark Ennis's Power Strength, I guarantee you, is there's going to be common threads, but it's going to be different than at Connor Flahive's Flex Personal Training, right? The point is that you have a clear standard for what performing well, for what winning looks like for that specific role, that specific action within the business. So for a trainer, it's going to be delivering great sessions and all the different variables that go along with that. If you've got a front desk person that is following up with leads or managing stuff with members or whatever it is, you're going to have a list of behaviors. Here's what needs to get done. Here's how it needs to get done that go along with that role. If that person is not performing their job well, right, that leads to consequences, right? Which include, it's not just fire the person the first freaking time, right? There's feedback and everything else, which maybe we'll get into next. But that's the second bucket that you're going to be evaluating. I was going to say judging. That sounds like such a harsh word, but evaluating these people on. And then the third bucket is the culture. And that's, like I said, it really comes down to the attitude. If you have a set of core values that is sort of like, we do things a certain way here, and you've got team members that are violating that. One example, if you've got a trainer who, they follow the rules basically, and then they're pretty good at the training side, but they're just a complete fucking bag of dicks to the front desk staff, right? They just treat the front desk staff like absolute trash. Like that would be a violation of culture, assuming that you don't want that to be a part of the culture at your gym, right? A part of the way that you do business, the way you make people feel within your business. I think that's a good example, right? Interfacing with different teams. It could be attitude. So the example of the angry girlfriend eye roll, it's like, well, that that doesn't feel like a great, like that's not the type of culture that I want as a part of my business, right? I probably should have made a move there way sooner and had, conversations way sooner around those things to determine whether or not we were going to be able to fix it. So those are examples of the CPC framework, if you will, now going to be trademarked after a 10-minute conversation prior to this podcast.
Yeah, and I really love the clarity and distinction between performance and culture, because you could technically have a toxic performer, someone who crushes it at their
100%.
role, hits KPIs, but is just a festering problem in the business and how people feel working for your gym.
Let me hit on something else, like another valuable mechanism for evaluating people, right? If you don't necessarily love just the CPC, another one of my favorite frameworks for evaluating folks is the people analyzer from Traction. That's Gino Wickman Traction. And so the way you evaluate those things are, number one, it's basically just the behaviors or the performance. Sorry. Number one is the performance on the different job roles they're doing. And you evaluate that based on GWC, which is, do they get it? Meaning, do I understand the freaking job? Like, do I get training people? If I'm a trainer, do I freaking get what the role entails? Second thing is, do they want it? It's like, you can get training all you want, right? Or you can be a great salesperson. We'll move into a salesperson then, because like less people want to do sales, right? Oh, you get sales. You're a great closer. You're great at follow up. You're great at handling objections, following up with leads, whatever it is. But the W, want, is a problem, right? I don't want to do sales. Well, if the person doesn't want to do sales, then they probably shouldn't be in that role in your business, right? They have to pass on the performance side, the actual pieces of their role. They have to pass go. They have to get the check mark on the G, get, the W, the want, and the C, capacity to actually do the thing. Capacity being like, do you have the actual time available? It could be mental, actual physical, that time capacity, right? Any of those variables to actually complete the role. So you may have a trainer that's training 40-hour weeks. They get and they want the sales role, but they don't have capacity to do it. Well, you've got to solve a capacity problem for that individual if you want them to be able to move into that role, right? So that would be evaluating the performance-based area of an individual's job at your company with just very simple GWC, right? I like the simplicity of it. But the second thing you do is you take each of your core values, each of the core values of your business, and you give them, I call it Gladiator rating, right? What they do in the Traction book is plus, minus, or minus. And I'm like, this is way more fun to do Gladiator judgment here. Okay. So like our number one core value, treat everyone like they're your mother, your brother, your child, right? We were evaluating Tommy. We don't have a Tommy on the team, but if we were evaluating hypothetical Tommy on the GMM squad, we do GWC for whatever Tommy's role is. And then we'd go to the core values. Number one, treat everyone like your mother, your brother, your child. Is it a thumbs up? Right? We live by that core value basically 99% of the time. Is it plus minus? Where it's like, yeah, like most of the time we do, but like also sometimes not. Or is it a straight up minus? Right? And I'd make the argument that there are some values, some instances where like most of the time's not okay.
Just like thinking of Gladiator 2, like, does he match the core values? Mercy! All right.
I never watched Gladiator 2. Gladiator 1, a lot more fun. Now it is, I call it Gladiator Judgment. It's like, yeah, you might be giving these people the axe, which is like, I'm making a joke right now. It is never fucking fun. Maybe we'll talk about that in this episode or another episode. But you're going to judge the person based on the core values. And if you don't have mostly thumbs up for that individual, like, you have, I don't know what all the biohacker biomarkers are for like risk of cancer. At best, you are at risk of developing cancer within your business. At worst, it's already there and it's at risk of spreading, right? So you want to evaluate your people both on the performance side and the culture side. And I think the reason I brought up the Gino Wickman, the traction people analyzer, is I think that's a nice way to break down the culture framework in a way that any of us as business owners can understand. It's like culture. Like I think like the culture is mostly okay. Well, break it down by your core values. Okay, if you don't have core values, like here's your lesson to freaking develop some, and that needs to be a whole other episode. But here's your lesson to, or here's your sign to freaking develop some, so that you can make decisions on hiring and any decision, strategic decision in the business, including terminations, promotions, things like that, based on your core values. So I will pull up there on that side. But in the spirit of these frameworks, it's like, let me give you a framework for the framework. Make more frameworks so we can do frameworks. Yeah.
I'm having framework inception.
Yeah.
Okay, so for each of these, maybe we talk about the two big F's: feedback and firing, and
Oh, look at you.
where those might fit in to
Yeah.
the framework.
So there's, I do think there's a world where we probably need to make feedback like an entirely additional conversation. But in terms of the, like the quick broad strokes notes for you, dear gym owner, right? You're new to leadership. You're not super experienced with this stuff. You're like, I don't know. I feel like I'm probably a pretty good leader, but like, I don't necessarily know. Here's what I think is my number one tip about feedback. We'll call it 1A. Feedback becomes infinitely less useful the farther away you get from the action you're giving feedback on. So my favorite analogy here is the dog analogy. I forget where I heard it from. I don't think it's my idea. Maybe I took something else and spun it my way. I'd love to cite my work here. But the dog analogy is basically like, all right, you go to work, you leave your dog at home. Okay, 10 a.m., your dog shits on the living room floor. Fantastic. Okay, you come back home, 5 o'clock. This is clearly not a gym owner, right? You come back home, 5 o'clock, and you're pissed at the dog. Poor fucking dog. Dog's just happy to see you, trying to give you kisses, everything else, right? Yeah, whatever. And you're pissed at the dog. The dog doesn't know what the fuck you're pissed for, right? The feedback has lost its power because you removed it so far from the action you're giving feedback on. And so going back to just the compliance example with this gym owner, and I think he addressed it. He at least brought it up to the team member right away. I would argue he didn't really address it, but this gym owner that had the team member that wasn't wearing the uniform. Well, okay, you let it happen the first day, and then it's 2 weeks, and you're kind of not liking what's going on with this team member, and you have a big feedback conversation, and you say, well, yeah, and 2 weeks ago, you didn't wear your uniform. Like, dude, what? Like, why? We're being what up? Right? The feedback has lost its power. Now, in that case, it's a very clear, very binary action. I think the feedback kind of has more power with, let's call it, performance related issues. So if you see something with the trainer, you're there, in the office, you're overseeing a session with the new coach, and they did something that was less optimal than you'd like, well, you'd want to give them that feedback as soon as you freaking can without making the person feel like a dick in front of clients, right? I'm not telling you that, hey, you need to jump right into the session and tell the coach like, no, this is not appropriate unless you're putting a client literally at risk from like doing something unsafe. But do I want to catch that trainer after the session and have that conversation? Absolutely. Now, Dave will love this. Positive feedback tends to go a little bit of a longer way than negative feedback, right? And so it's very hard to work for me. I don't have a lot of direct reports. So I did mention this in the group coaching call. Where it's like, by the way, that also goes for positive feedback. So if you see a new hire that comes, or a newer hire that's just been onboarded, just been turned loose, right? You sort of let the dogs loose in their first session with clients, and they do a great job being engaged. They do great on their cueing, whatever it is. Like, I want to catch that trainer right there, right after the session, and let them know what you loved about that session, because the positive feedback, I think, does move the needle more, as much as it, like, my crazy old angry football coach brain does not necessarily work that way. And I think this will hopefully be useful because I feel like I resonate with a lot of gym owners. Like I feel like I have a lot of the same psychology, at least of the buddies that I grew up with in the industry. I could just be more of an asshole than most people. And that's something I have to work with personally and need to go to therapy on. But man, catching people doing things positively is just as powerful, if not more, as catching them doing things that aren't okay. But the number one thing about feedback to me is that, or 1A, because I'll go into 1B next. 1A is you got to try to catch it as close as you can to when the issue occurred to maximize the impact of the feedback. The second thing, and this is, I'll shout out CJ Appens. CJ, if you're listening, we love you. He provides hella value on the coaching calls, and incredible client, right? I think started with us at one location, maybe two, and is, I think, opening number 6 in May. Like incredible progress. I've known CJ for a long time, but he shared the radical candor framework, right? And I don't have the whole grid. I might still actually have it up on my screen over here, but radical candor has this grid, and you could probably pull it up and Google it if you'd like to. Challenge directly is the x-axis, and care personally is the y-axis. Okay, on the top right of that grid, where you both care personally and challenge directly, is radical candor. If you are a manager, if you are a developer of people, that is where you want to live if you want to be the most effective manager you can. You say, well, yeah, like that makes sense, but what do you? No, I said challenge directly, right? So challenge directly is the big piece of this, because I'll have this tendency. I've seen this tendency happen in my businesses over the years, and it can feel uncomfortable. But the most common thing that you'll see is you care personally, but you sort of dance around the feedback. You sort of hope that they're going to figure it out on their own. You're sort of passive about whatever you're trying to give the feedback on, whatever behavior you're trying to improve. And that, as they say in Radical Candor, is ruinous empathy, right? Ruinous empathy, where you say, yeah, like I care about the person, but like you don't care about the person enough to tell them the truth, right? And so where I try to twist my psychology into, if I'm giving, very stern, direct feedback on marketing endeavors, would be, God damn it, I care about you too much to not tell you the truth on what I think about this. And I'm going to attempt to challenge you directly whilst also caring personally, hopefully as close to the action as you can, right? Sometimes I think in marketing, it's a little bit different because it's like project driven. So it's like, oh, here's the project. We're looking at the thing that was built. And so it doesn't have to happen as soon as the thing that was built is like, no, this is a thing that was built. So you're doing it on a project. I think it's very different with trainers, where it's like, are you going to review the game film with your trainers? In most cases? Probably not. But you'll want to be challenging people directly. You need to give direct, hopefully caring, honest feedback to whatever behavior you are trying to improve. And if you don't work towards improving that, if you do not challenge that person directly on the issues that you're seeing, the issues that are making you consider letting that person go, shame on you as a leader. Shame on you as a leader, because you have not given that person a chance to improve whatever the heck it is you're thinking about terminating their livelihood for, right? Terminating the business relationship for. And so I think it's proximity to the action, particularly when it's not like project-based thing, and challenging directly, right? Coaching directly on the thing that you are hoping to improve. And I will take a deep breath and open up some space for additional questions, thoughts, etc. there.
No, that was great. And we've just unpacked feedback for each of these. And then let's say you've given a feedback, you've given this person many chances, and it's just not working, especially as you get further down the framework of like, okay, compliance, fairly easy to understand, performance, a little more complex, but culture especially can get sort of sticky. But where does the more serious consequences or last straw piece of this come into play? And if you have to go there, what does doing well with that look like?
Yeah. So typically, what you're going to do in these situations is have very direct conversations with the individual on thing one. Now, ideally, your feedback conversation, like this is one of my pet peeves that I'll see. It's coached out there in some places right now. It's like you need to make sure you're having a quarterly one-on-one with your direct reports. Like motherfucker, quarterly? Like even monthly, I don't think is enough for most people. Like it's just not enough one-on-one face-to-face time to give enough feedback and coaching to really give that person a chance to do well. Like that'd be my friggin' argument. But you're typically going to have at least and I got to say this is very much dependent on the situation, right? So there are things that are just like I don't care, you're fired. Right? Like we can all think of situations that are like, no, this is a bad enough thing that I'm putting the business at incredible risk by not terminating you right now. Someone steals from you, right? Like that's not a, oh, let's talk about it. Let me give you feedback on how I sure wish that you didn't steal from me, dear employee. Like, no, that's instant termination, right? There are other things that fit in that instant termination bucket, if you will. Everything else needs to be multiple conversations. Your typical framework for this would be, okay, somewhat informal feedback conversation. When I say informal, it doesn't mean that you're not challenging directly. It's just like you're not putting things on paper and making somebody sign anything. Okay. The next typical path in most management scenarios would be a PIP, right? Now you can call it a PEP, you can call it a PIP. So there's what I don't even know what PEP. Do you know what PEP stands for? I know we've stolen it and used it. What is it?
I
Elevation.
believe it's either elevation or excellence. We've stolen it from
No, it's
operations
elevation.
stuff, but
Yeah.
okay, got it.
So we've used the PEP at times. So PEP is, I think, performance elevation plan. You could be PDP, personal development plan, if you want to call it that. The issue with PIPs is that PIPs, and I was literally reading about this on Reddit because I'll read management subreddits in my spare time to see like horror stories from the real corporate world. And every piece of advice from like the general rank and file employees is like a PIP is your death sentence. Like a PIP is a paid period to go start looking for your next job, right? Like, and we don't see it that way here. I used to think that, and then we've had multiple PIPs work out in this business because if you can care personally, if you tell the person like, no, I actually like, I believe in you. I want this to work out. I genuinely do. Like, here's clear expectations. Here's talk to me about expectation one. Do we understand that? Do we feel like it's something we can commit to? Yes. And the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, like, I want to see you win with this. Or is this something we can agree to? And if we do not execute on these things, then we will no longer be able to have a business relationship here, right? Like that would be a PIP where everyone's signing it. It's formal, it's documented, what have you. You can really follow the same procedure with a PEP or a PDP. They can sort of make people feel less formal about the PIP scenario, if you will. They're basically the same thing, but the typical structure would be we're moving to a kind of write up PIP scenario. Your PIP can be anywhere 30, 60, 90 days. Like, that all depends on what you want to do. Most states at this stage, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice. Most states at this stage are at will. And so it's like extra documentation to potentially protect you against lawsuits and things like that. But in most cases, if you just want to let the person go immediately, you could. Do I think that's the best thing to do? In most cases, no. I have, seen situations where, uh, you do things without a PIP and you go off script. And depending on what that situation is, like you may want to consider doing things like severance agreements and whatnot, both to try to take care of the person, but also to protect yourself against, legal action. Again, are you likely to be in trouble for those things? No. Talk to your own counsel and whatnot about that situation. But there are definitely cases where, gosh, if you've had multiple conversations and the person has shown you uh, who they are when things get to a certain level, at a certain point, you kind of have to just believe them. And if those things are contributing to cancerous situations within the organization, you may have to make the call and do something without a PIP. Again, it's going to vary, and we could talk about nuance and things like that. But your typical progression is going to be formal direct conversation, doesn't improve, move to a PIP, then it's termination, right? If they don't succeed on the PIP.
great work unpacking the sort of PIP termination progression. That all makes sense. There are some situations where the formal performance improvement plan or the other options you listed doesn't make sense. Maybe give us some examples of what those might be.
Yeah, so I think there's probably two primary things. So well, the one of the situations that popped up with one of our clients today, talking on the group coaching call, was he had this person that like very early in the relationship with them, just like failed on the compliance deal. Right? They both failed on a compliance deal and then failed on creating a program for a member or something like that. And one of the things that I will look at, and one of the things I encourage him to think about is, dude, when you hire somebody early on, your performance may not be perfect, right? Like oftentimes they have to learn how things are done in the business. But my God, if they are not attempting to be on their best behavior in that first little time period, like we had this happen with an EA this year in our business. So I went through a placement company to hire an EA, and literally in the second week that she was working with us, just like didn't log on for 2 days. It's like, no, hey, I'm sick, or I've got this thing going on, like zero communication, just straight up didn't log on for a couple of days. And then I reached out like, hey, it was like, everything all right? It's like, yeah. Wait, what? Like, all right. Not good. Okay, we're terminating this relationship very quickly. It's like with this guy that had like the trainer not do the shirt. This is like in the first couple days of like the first couple weeks, I think, of that person working there, and this trainer wasn't wearing the uniform, and it's like what's hey like he approached him or her, I don't remember directly. He approached her directly and was like, hey, like what's going on? Like, was the shirt? Oh, well, it was dirty. Okay, so gave her another shirt, and the next day she comes in without the uniform.
You can't make this stuff up, folks.
You can't. And I'm like, right there, right there. It's okay. Like, just freaking make the cut. Like one of the things that I've tried to get better at over the years, because I've seen it bite me in the ass so many times, is when people show you who they are, believe them. This person clearly, like in the first couple weeks, guys, that is the honeymoon phase. They should be excited. They just got a new role with you and your business. Like it should be absolute best behavior. Is it going to be best performance? No. And I'm not telling you to fire somebody if they don't. Like Dave does his first short when he moves into the marketing role. Am I going to fire Dave immediately because like the short wasn't the most amazing short of all time? Like that's not fair for me to do, right? That doesn't make sense. A trainer comes in, they run their first session, they do their first like test session with your trainers and it sucks. Should you fire that person? I would argue probably not. Like one of my favorite frameworks, and this is something that you shared in one of our old mastermind meetings ages ago, Dave, was like, does the person that you are managing have the resources, support, training, et cetera, that they need in order to be successful in the role? And if we can't answer that with a clear and definite yes, then it's your fault as the manager. It's not the employees. If the gym owner that had the person come in without a uniform did not set clear expectations, did not provide enough uniform items for that to be a reasonable thing for the trainer on the other side to execute on, is it the employee's fault in that situation? Like, no, it's the gym owner's fault, to be clear. But when you remove those variables, or when those variables, I shouldn't say remove, but when you have addressed those variables and that person shows you who they are super early in the game without a freaking good reason, like there's zero good reason for that person to show up the next day without their unit. Like that's just like literally give them the shirt. It's in their size. Like this is just pure and blatant disrespect. Immediately, like, no, we are not adding sessions. I'm not going to continue this relationship any further. It's like, I don't think it's going to work out here. We're going to go ahead and part ways now. Your last, like, move into your HR freaking offboarding stuff. Other situations are kind of like I said, right? Where you may have had multiple conversations with an individual about whether it's a performance thing. I think oftentimes these types of situations are cultural, where it's a really big cultural thing, and you've had conversations about it, it improves a little bit. you've had conversations about it, it improves for a little. And what I should have said is, you have conversations about it, it improves for a little bit, it rears its ugly head again. You have conversations, improves for a little bit, rears its ugly head again. Have conversations, like, you keep going a little bit, and then it's like, well, what are we doing here? Right? Like, at a certain point, particularly if it's having a negative, deleterious, big word, effect on the rest of the business, like, you've got to make a call. You've got to make a tough call, and you can decide how you want to handle that, right? Like, when we've had to deal with the situation, it's like, we try to take care of the person and make everything as positive as you can. But you have to make that call, because the thing that I did this in a talk in Charleston back when we were doing more in-person stuff ages ago. The fastest way to lose your teeth as a leader, because the risk is not in that employee's performance, the risk is in the performance of the rest of the business. Because if your A players see that it is okay, right? Your A players get to watch other team members not be compliant, not perform their job well, right? Not live with the culture and core values that you have set, that you have said are the most important thing for the business. What do you think happens to those A players? Right? People are going to naturally default to the lowest amount of effort. This is like a human thing. People are going to naturally default to the lowest amount of effort necessary to get the same reward. And if you show that it's okay for you to either not follow the rules, not wear the uniform, or not be good at the job, not perform well, or not be in compliance, not live the culture and core values that the owners have said are the most important thing, your A players say, well, why am I going above and beyond? Right? Why am I going to continue to bust my ass and do this, that, and the other when the other people in the boat aren't rowing nearly as hard as me, and there's no consequences for them? So I'm going to assume there's no consequences for me. Like, that is the risk that you are running every day, that you let a C player, and that C playing, right, can be any number of things. It can be on compliance, it can be on the performance, it can be on the culture. Every day you let that person stick around is a chance for that cancer to spread.
Yeah, and I think that's the big takeaway, the big lesson of why taking care of the CPC is so important and urgent, because if you don't address it, it becomes a problem everywhere. One person's violation spreads to the rest of the team who aren't even violating it. It's kind of like the rising tide lifts all boats. It's like the sinking
Mm-hmm.
ship sinks all ships. I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, allowing the bad behavior signals to the entire rest of the business at every level that that's acceptable and tolerated. And yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I'll say this. It's one of those things that it is never comfortable to make that decision. It's almost never comfortable. We had to let go of somebody recently, and it hurt. Man, it freaking sucked. Because, like, and I was talking with wifey and genius operator of the business about it, and she brought up I think it was Leila Hormozi, right? And which, like, I pictured Leila as being just like fucking complete savage, but I think there was a podcast where she talked about letting something go, and she's like, I have let people go in my company that have stolen from me, right? Literally stolen from me. And then I go in the freaking bathroom and cry afterwards because I feel bad, right? Like, it was like that type of situation. Like, I hated that it had to be done. We knew for the greater good that it had to be done. We try to take care of that person, get them into the next role that's a way better fit culturally and everything else. Like, I still have love for that person, even though personally I'm like, how did we not fix the shit that we've been talking about fixing? Like, how is this still being a thing? You almost feel disrespected as an owner, but it freaking sucks. And the thing that I will tell you, in dealing with a multitude of these situations over the years in any number of the buckets, right? The C or the P or the C. And what I'll tell you is, as uncomfortable as it feels to make that call in the moment, you're going to wake up in 6 months after you finally decide to make the call, or you're going to wake up in 6 months and either be regretting not making the call or being like, oh yeah, like that made things better for the business. That changed the way the front desk staff was able to operate. They had a lighter weight on their shoulders because they were able to perform their jobs better because that one mean trainer that they were just allowing to keep around, that was okay at their job, good at the performance, but just a complete culture cancer, left. And all of a sudden it wasn't okay for the trainers to talk about it that way. I felt like the owners had my back, and I felt more like, oh, these are our core values, and this business is making decisions based on these core values. And so now I'm going to live more in alignment, right, or operate more within the business, right, within those core values, and it just ends up as a massive, massive, massive positive across the organization. However painful it feels to deal with right now, this is another situation where it is choose your heart. You can choose to avoid the uncomfortable conversation and decision of letting something go, or, you can deal with the pain of probably having to replace a number of your team members because you did not make that call and they all left or they all started underperforming because you let that one cancerous cell within your business spread to every inch of the organization.
Yes, love it. And yeah, I can say from the perspective of any team, when they see the leader making decisions in alignment with the core values, and it does feel more visceral and real. And it does make you want to elevate yourself and say, like, okay, what do we stand for? And am I living those out in my, in my role and in my department? So yeah, I think it's super awesome. All right. GR, anything else you want the audience to take away from this conversation?
I don't think so. Not for now. There's plenty of leadership lessons that we could dive into over the hopefully what will be a long lifetime of this podcast. And if y'all have ideas, you want feedback on something, DM us. Just DM us on IG. Give us a follow. DM us. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you want to hear about, and maybe we'll put it on the show.
Boom. All right. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Love, hugs, talk soon. Bye.